Dr. Rob Davison. I've done a little bit of research on the Royal Canadian Navy's founder, and he's founder in uniform, it is, Admiral Sir Charles Kingsmill. In this centennial year, the foundation of the Royal Canadian Navy, it seems especially fitting to recognize the role played by a native of this city in this step toward nationhood. Admiral Sir Charles Edmund Kingsmill, born in Galt in 1855, was the first director of the Royal Canadian Navy and nursed the infant service through domestic political minefields as well as the First World War. Kingsmill was born into two families of local prominence as a son of John Joshua Kingsmill, Welsh Crown Attorney, and Ellen Deanna Grange, the daughter of the Sheriff of Wellington County, and who unfortunately tragically died when young Charles was only 4. Making use of social and political connections, Charles's father obtained a nomination to a colonial cadetship in the Royal Navy in 1869. The younger Kingsmill's career in the Imperial Service proceeded at a slow but steady pace, and he reached the rank of captain, the equivalent of colonel, in 1898. By 1908, nearly at the head of the captain's list, he was approaching promotion to flag rank, with little prospect of future active service. This time, elevation to flag rank was by seniority. At this point, Kingsmill, however, was advantageously placed in the view of Prime Minister Sir Wilfrid Laurier's desire to establish a Canadian naval service as a means to contribute to imperial defense, at the same time jealously guarding Canadian autonomy. Kingsmill, with his family connections to the ruling party, was recommended to Laurier as a possible chief of the new service. And Laurier himself became convinced that despite Kingsmill's extensive service in the Royal Navy, he would take his marching orders from Ottawa and not from the Admiralty in London. This was critically important. Upon his appointment as director of the Naval Service, now Rear Admiral Kingsmill began to carry out a vision of a Canadian Navy that would, as far as possible, make an autonomous contribution to Canadian security. Far from being an ardent imperialist, Kingsmill took his role as head of the Royal Canadian Navy very seriously. He was instrumental in the establishment of the Royal Naval College of Canada, designed to produce distinctly Canadian officers to command Canadian ships. And during the First World War, given that the Navy had effectively been placed on life support with the election of Robert Borden's government in 1911, Kingsmill and his staff were forced to improvise a flotilla of ships to patrol Canada's Atlantic coast to deter enemy submarines from operating on our own doorstep. During the later stages of his career, he put forward plans to have a small but relatively robust naval service of some 40 warships divided on either coast. Although his plans were effectively scotched by the retrenchment of the 1920s, the RCN would, despite the odds, continue to exist. Many of the officers who entered under Kingsmill's stewardship would play prominent roles in the Navy's decisive contribution to victory in the Battle of the Atlantic during the Second World War. For Kingsmill personally, however, having been promoted to Rear Full Admiral and knighted in 1918, he would never see what would become of the service he had done so much to create when he passed away at the age of 80 in 1935.